Okay, we're live, and we're live.
All right, I think it's on my page now. Let me see. Yep, it's live. Okay, so we're good. Let me go live on Instagram, and then we'll go live on YouTube, and we'll just begin.
You're already live on YouTube. We're
we
live
are? Oh.
on YouTube.
Oh, my bad. So let me go Instagram then. do live. Do. Okay. So I need a haircut, dude. I'm starting to look gross. I got like sideburns and stuff. My head shaved. Okay, so we're gonna go live on I think YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Jeez, I didn't know we could do this. We're doing all four of them. So if you're on one of these things, you're watching us from one of the different perspectives of social media, and we're gonna discuss all the deep plots that that are unfolding now in comics, and some of my more favorite picks right now, things that you should really jump into, and why. So I think one of the ones I really want to talk about is Goddess Mode. Goddess Mode is by a writer named Zoe Quinn. I didn't expect such a strong showing, but it reads like Snow Crash crossed with like William Gibson's Neuromancer. I mean, she definitely takes elements from that stuff, and it's a really, really, really good sci-fi read. It involves like people that have nanomachines in their minds that can sort of see the internet. And if it was just that, like that was the only thing going on in this plot line, I would say it's one of the better ones. But on top of that, there's like a disease that basically messes people up and makes them invalids, which is very reminiscent of Snow Crash. And then on top of that, there's like a dash of magic. So like it's got everything. And during that whole time, she encounters other people with these magic abilities, and she's sort of discovering her own magic abilities. So I like when sort of they reveal like a hidden world type deal, and then like wizards start sort of discovering things and figuring stuff out, and that's mixed in with sci-fi. And that's why I think Goddess Mode is it's a really strong showing. And she could build literally anywhere from what she started with. So this, in my opinion, is a pretty good sci-fi plot. And if you like sci-fi with a dash of fantasy, this thing is almost perfect. So do you have anything you want to add about Goddess Mode?
I wish I did, man.
Okay.
No, I do not.
He does
I
not.
love the coloring, though. I mean, I've always been a fan of the artwork on that.
Yeah, the artist is really sort of top tier. Who's the artist? Because we know Zoe Quinn's writing it. Robbie Rodriguez.
There might be a lot of that.
Enrico Renzi.
Going on right
Yeah. And then the other thing I want to talk about is the Immortal Hulk. And if you haven't been reading the Immortal Hulk right now, you're sort of missing out on one of the best horror comics I want to say maybe this decade. Like, it's that good. Mm-hmm. Like, the Immortal Hulk has really, really been just such a good pull. And I wouldn't expect it to be a horror comic. I mean, we all know that the Hulk is sort of like, not sort of, it's very clearly inspired by like Jekyll and Hyde. Mm-hmm. So there's definite horror connotations, but in recent years, he's always just sort of been like, the rough and rowdy hero and or sort of anti-hero, I guess you could say. But these days, his comic has gotten like deliciously creepy. And I think they had a few issues ago. How many was it? It was like 6 issues ago or 7, where he got cut up and placed into jars.
Different jars.
Yeah, and you like read through the comic, and basically Hulk like destroys the town because he's sort of possessed. And what was he calling himself? The Devil Hulk? Yeah. And so he wanted. You get to the end of the comic, and you turn the page, and oh my God, it's super frightening. He's like there's the Hulk like sitting in pieces in a jar. And then like the next comic, like the one after that, he went up against the Absorbing Man. Mm-hmm. And the Absorbing Man, I've never seen him that messed up. Like he had his like nervous system like no, it was split up, and his skull was like floating like with his like I've never seen him be that messed up. So that happened, and then what happened? Like, and then that was it, and then they wound up in hell. Uh-huh. So it was like each end of the comic, they just kept accelerating worse and worse creepy stuff.
And every time it just kept bouncing back, man.
Yeah.
You can't hold down the whole
thing. And like in the new Avengers, what is it? Can't Go Home, No Going Home, something?
Yeah.
I can't remember. But in that book, the Hercules storyline that I thought was going to be Conan, I was hoping it was going to be Conan. Someone told me it was Conan.
Yeah, No Road Home.
No Road Home. That's what it is. So in that one, they show the Hulk, and I think it's the actual artist that is drawing his pages that is drawing the Immortal Hulk.
Oh.
And so they show him, and the sky goes dark, and no joke, Banner, like with PTSD, starts screaming that he's still in hell and he's been tricked and stuff like that. And it was pretty shocking to see, like Banner is broken after all that nonsense. So,
Dude, I mean, can you blame him?
no, I mean, like he legit got killed, and like I think 2 times during that Immortal Hulk stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his dad killed him too, right off the
Yeah,
get-go.
right, going out the gate. Like, so if you like horror and you like really intricate horror plots, the Immortal Hulk has been awesome, just awesome. I'm not even sure where they can go from here because there's been so much.
I don't even know, man. It's been a hell of a journey though. Man.
Right? I mean, like started out like we had Sasquatch in it.
Yeah.
And then
The
Avengers were in it. Bruce Banner's dad was in it. Hell was in it. Yeah, so one of the better plots running in comics right now is Immortal Hulk. Everybody should be reading this. Granted, this current issue is kind of the wrap up to the Hell stuff, but I can't wait to see more.
Right.
Like I'm almost scared to pick it up. Although I will say that currently Batman, I'm more scared of picking up Batman than I am the Immortal Hulk. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. Next is Superior Spider-Man, and while I don't think it's the deepest plot, I think it's one of the funniest right now. Like he took tenure as a professor in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
He's living in a new clone. His ex has figured it out, which has put him like in a really awkward state of affairs with her.
Oh, you see, I haven't read number 2.
Oh, it's so good, dude.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But he gets legit messed up by, so he's really sort of coming into his own. And I like this too because I mean we've seen Superior Spider-Man rise up before, but he's got to start all over again, and he's doing it in San Francisco. And the city itself is a character in this story, which is great.
Dude, I mean, it was pretty cool the way they started out. It's something I've always chimed in on. You know, I guess me being a Bay Area native, it's like the gentrification of the city and everything. Yeah. And that's exactly what they dove into.
They did.
Right in the beginning.
Yeah, all that gentrification and stuff. It was great. And it feels like SF. Yeah. It feels like an SF character. Like, and it's nice to see the West Coast represented outside of like LA. West Coast here. Yeah, outside of LA.
I mean, LA is cool and all. Don't get me wrong,
but NorCal is great. All right. So we're gonna do the next book, and that's Shuri. Now Shuri started off. I thought Shuri started off a little weak at first. I was a little iffy about it. It seemed more of
putting the players in place kind of thing.
Kind of. It was just sort of cartoony and fun at first. Like, I mean, eventually she fights a giant space bug. It's kind of like, which is fine. Like, a lot of people like that kind of comics with their escapism with their comics. They like that sort of fun stuff. However, I think there's tons of depth here. Because first of all, like Shuri has been through a lot. Like she's seeing her ancestor spirits because she's been to the other side.
So far, it's been within days, right?
Yeah. So she's been through a lot. She's like searching for her brother who's like lost in space. You know, she's got to. They want her to control the assets of Wakanda. Meanwhile, meanwhile, like she doesn't want to assume the mantle of Black Panther again. So like, there's so much plot, or there's so much depth, but in a time when like it feels like Marvel is just going, hey, let's make everything OP. Yeah. Like super OP, right? I mean, what's all the stuff we've had? We've had Scarlet Witch crossed with X-23.
The entire Infinity War series, man.
That thing was just
insane.
Yeah, Ghost Rider crossed with Black Panther.
Hex and all that, and then
Doctor Strange crossed with Captain America. And then now we've got like we know that Wolverine gets the Phoenix Force in the future.
Weapon H.
Hulk with Wolverine. Hulk Marines. Yeah, God, don't remind me. It feels like Marvel is just throwing crap at the wall to see what sticks. Yeah. So at a time when everything is OP, Shuri is the opposite. Like, they're legitimately like taking powers away at times. Like she lost some of her abilities, and they're bringing flaws to this character, which is making for a really deep character and a character that people want to identify with. And on top of that is making for a really good storyline. So
That's why I've been having a good time with Shuri and Riri.
I've been having
Ironheart.
a damn good time. Yeah, and Ironheart too. Yeah, I think both of them are really strong showings.
They're more grounded in reality.
They,
like, as crazy as they are.
Yeah,
they're
way more grounded in reality. So I think Shuri, if you were following Shuri, hang on, I got a text from my wife. I got to read it. Oh, she's early.
Time out.
I can't text her back right now. Yes. Hang on, let me text her.
You're gonna blow up the internet.
Yes.
You guys should see this. We have like cameras everywhere.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
You want bagging board today, sir?
Busy.
All right. Meanwhile, we're still a
Sorry, Instagram. You got to see my face. Busy streaming. Can't talk.
Right.
Okay.
Instagram,
Okay.
Facebook.
Back to Instagram. Okay. So I think Shuri is one of the strongest showings right now, and granted, it's been a bit of a fun comic. There's definitely a little bit of I don't know, whimsicalness. Like, it doesn't take itself too serious at times, but when it's time to get serious, it's pretty darn good. Next is Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange has been it's a weird pick. It feels to me like they do a really good story arc and then a couple books of filler and then a really good story arc and then a couple books of filler. Like, he dealt with gentrification a few books ago. What's up?
4 bag and board, please.
Oh, 4 bag and board. Gotcha.
Yeah, sorry. We're still a comic book shop that's actually up and running.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm hitting
You can even come in and
the
say
YouTube mic. Sorry. Okay, so Doctor Strange has been a really, really sort of intricate plot. He's lost like a lot of his powers for a while there. He wasn't being true to himself, was basically how it was explained. And then he met what was the dwarf's name that the weapon creator that they also featured in Avengers? My business partner's distracted right now. Sorry. What was the dwarf's name? What was the dwarf's name that's the weapons creator that they...
Oh, God. I'm going to have to grab it.
They had him in, like, Infinity War.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. No, don't even bother. Don't even bother. But anyways, so he's in play, and he legitimately asked Doctor Strange, like, you use all these other spells, you use all these other powers. Why have you never made your own powers? And that was like, whoa, I don't ever remember him making his own powers or artifacts or anything. Yeah, mind exploded. Yeah. Like that changed everything for me. And on top of that, like, this opens up a whole new facet. Like, he's not sitting there like announcing what he's casting now. He's like legit, like he's got like a sword like spell that he calls his scalpel. That's nuts. Like, it's a really, really good storyline. And now the Ancient has reappeared, so that opens up a whole another slew of stuff. So I like the plot. I will say that he just wrapped up one saga and he's pushing into another saga, which is why we got a couple books of filler. However, like, the current stuff with the Ancient, I think is going to unfold like really well. Go away, spammers. I think it's going to unfold really well. On top of that, like, I think that the character of Doctor Strange has leveled up, and we've come to a new like a completely new Doctor Strange, a totally uncharted area. Or maybe it's not. Like, I haven't been following Doctor Strange my whole life. Maybe they've done this once before. Could be. But Doctor Strange is pretty dope right now. And an event, I don't know if it's an event, but something just started, a plotline just started, and I'm anxious to see where it plays out. So I would recommend Doctor Strange to anyone. I think there's a lot of good stuff here. Next, we're going to talk about something weird to recommend for me, because I don't hide that I don't like X-Men or mutants. Yeah. Like, it's never been my thing. My best friend growing up, Corey Douglas, he would always be reading X-Men and be talking X-Men and stuff like that. And I could never get into it. And I don't know why. I think it's the ex-girlfriend issue, because I had an ex-girlfriend at one point that was super into X-Men. Yeah, so, and it could have been that. But however, all the Age of X-Men stuff, which is sort of like a dystopian, well, it's a utopian universe that might be dystopian. It seems too perfect. There's cracks around the edges. So all this stuff has been really deep, really fun. And I have a nasty thing where I like old dystopian stories like Orwell and it seems
to be like the only flavor for futures right now, though.
What, right? there's no real utopian future type stuff.
Even Star Trek, man. With the whole Kelvin timeline.
It's getting a little dark.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
However, all this stuff that's been coming out of, I think, and I would include Uncanny X-Men in this because Uncanny X-Men has been pretty good too. But the Uncanny X-Men, the Age of X-Men stuff, like the plot is pretty deep right now and kind of fun. And I actually want to know more all the time. And I think that's because Uncanny is written by Rosenberg and I don't know Ed Brisson all that well, I must confess. But he's doing a darn good job with this stuff. And especially this one, this Next Gen. I think this was my favorite of all of them.
That's cool.
Right? Because it's got Glob.
Yeah.
The pink Glob.
Pink Glob.
Pink Glob. Good plots. I would say this is still unfolding. They're only like 3 books deep into this. This one is still one that you can jump in. And I don't think you would be disappointed with Next Gen at all. I think you would have a damn fine time with this book. Next, we're going to talk about Blackbird. And Blackbird, if you don't know, Blackbird and Dead Rabbit came out at the same time. And I really love Dead Rabbit. And they got into a huge, copyright fight?
God. Yeah, with that bar.
They're getting sued by a bar that has a drink book that is a graphic novel. They've deemed graphic novel.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's really no relation between them and Dead Rabbit. But they're suing nonetheless, so Image had to pull it back, and we lost out on Dead Rabbit, which felt like something really, really great.
Just getting merch for it.
Yeah, and Blackbird came out at the same time, so I still kind of associate it with Dead Rabbit, but it seems to me like both of their best showings for this past year came out at the same time. Yeah. And Blackbird has been amazing. Like, okay, so first of all, this is written by Sam Humphries, and Sam Humphries is really a really dope writer. I love a lot of Sam Humphries stuff. But then Jen Bartel, Jen Bartel's art is amazing. So while I think the plot is really good, the plot is, again, maybe I like wizards and stuff, but it's about like there's a secret society of wizards and somebody discovers it and then sort of is discovering why she has powers and is going from there and then finding out about wizard clans and how they plot against each other. So it's very Game of Thrones with magic is what it feels like right now. And I like it. I like it so far. I'm having a darn good time. And even if it didn't have this good plot, like look at this art. Like you really just you can't go wrong with this art. This art is outstanding right now. So I would say Blackbird, not just for plot though. Is there anything you want to add on the plot of Blackbird?
No. The what happened in this one?
Yeah.
Can we talk about the?
No, it just happened.
Yeah.
We can't talk about it just yet. It just happened. We'll try not to.
Image has just been doing that lately. Period, man. They've been bringing out a whole bunch of number ones, and each one that they've been bringing in has just been stellar.
Some of them have been good. There's a couple that I'm sort of iffy on.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just great. I mean, you got like what's going on with we were just talking about it.
Yeah.
Marvel has all these like OP things that are going on.
Yeah, which is driving me nuts.
Like, focusing down, on the story. Which is great.
I think that's a very Image thing to do, which is weird because like wasn't Image put together like to support the artist first, the artist first, and yet some of the deepest plots seem to come from Image, right? So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, you know what? Everyone's looking up. Maybe you should look down.
Right? Yeah. So next we're going to talk about 2 comics at the same time, and that's because current Batman crosses over with Heroes in Crisis. Now, Heroes in Crisis has been the most intricate plot line involving Sanctuary, which is a PTSD center where a bunch of people get killed, a bunch of heroes get killed, and they're trying to figure it out. And for one time, like both Batman and Flash are stumped.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, like who are the 2 main suspects? Harley and Booster Gold, right? And so that storyline has been great. Like it has gone back and forth the whole time. Like we start out thinking it's Harley, then we think it's Booster, then we think it's Harley again, then it's back to Booster, then there's like a wild card somewhere in there, and now it's looking like
you think it Matrixy, man. Or you think it's something else? Is something else?
Well, it could be, right? It could be like a Matrixy thing because that place Sanctuary is about affecting reality and changing reality. So it could be, but it's affected all the books on the shelf. So if it did that, that would be really twisted. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, because
I mean Green Arrow right off the bat. Like jumped right in.
Simulacrum. What is it? I can't remember the title of that book, but it It could very well be that, but however, it's affected everything. Like, and especially let's talk about this. Why don't we talk about this too? Did I have it? Did I pick it up? Where'd it go? I don't know where it went, but Green Arrow currently, like the Green Arrow stuff that has been affected by Heroes in Crisis has been really heartfelt and touching. Like it's almost like broken my heart at times. Like there was one of Arsenal's villains that showed up screaming about Arsenal, and then what happened? Like he found out that Arsenal was dead.
Oh yeah,
and then just sort of fell apart.
Well, and then you got the same thing with Flash. Like Flash was in the middle of a battle, and then Booster Gold just jumped right in. It was like, "Hey, man, look, I'm sorry." And he's like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, oh God.
So like the plot from Heroes in Crisis and everything it's bleeding out to has been great. And while we're talking about like that intricate plot and how deep it's been, let's also talk about Batman itself, because the Batman Tom King run. I know there are people that don't like Tom King.
Yeah, because especially everything that happened with the wedding.
Well, the wedding, but I think the wedding was intentionally bad. Like that was supposed to go that route.
It makes sense to me. So for me, I wasn't a DC fanboy.
Yeah.
I jumped into Heroes in Crisis, and I was like, "What the hell am I reading?" I just started reading all this Batman, and then like I started seeing all the plots and everything pop up, and it's like, "Holy crap, dude! You're starting to feel like you're part of this big web that's about to catch the Batman." And it's just like, "Holy crap!"
Right, and it's okay. So if you don't know what's going on with Tom King, so Tom King is a CIA analyst that has turned writer, and his plot line for Batman is the most deep thing ever. He basically was given 100 books to kill Batman, if that's how it was sold. However, what he's actually doing is he's taken 100 books and he's trying to make Bane as scary as he was during Nightfall. That's the truth of the run. So is it brutal? Is it breaking Batman? It totally is. Yeah. He's completely breaking Batman's spirit. At one point, let's see what happens. Batman puts together a super team. No. First he had Gotham and Gotham Girl, and then Bane messed them up through Psycho Pirate. Yep. Like messed up their heads. So then Gotham like had to be put down essentially. I don't think it played out like that, but he lost it and like killed some people, so he had to be taken care of. And then Gotham Girl was just a mess. She was just an anxiety and just a mess. So he went to go rescue her by putting together a super team, or not a super team, a Suicide Squad team. So a team of villains. Yeah. And it was a really deep plot on how he went to go raid where Bane lives. I can't for the life of me remember. It's gonna drive me nuts. It's okay. So he went there and then broke Bane's back. And it actually wasn't him. He told him the whole time that he was going to break his back.
But he did. It was
Catwoman that did it, right? Which was nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was nice.
Play on words.
And then what was really cool was like Bane went to Gotham, and both, I think it was Red Hood, Damian, and Nightwing were all like planning to fight Bane, and Bane hung them all and almost killed them. And then it went from there. He has systematically taken everything apart. I mean, on top of that, like Batman has lost the Bat family in Detective Comics. He thinks Clayface is dead. The rest of them are split off and are like doing their own thing. On top of that, what else? The Heroes in Crisis stuff. Like the Heroes in Crisis stuff, it turns out that stuff was recorded. Batman kept saying it wasn't. Yeah. Batman might be lying. Yeah. And then on top of that, the recordings are leaking right now, which I think is going to ruin his standings with heroes around the world. Yeah. Right?
Well, and then on top of that, I mean, also kind of tarnished things with Superman and his reputation.
It totally did, right?
Because it was Lois Lane that did the story.
They got the story. Okay. So then that happened. And then on top of that, like, who is it? KGB shot Nightwing in the head and like totally like stole his personality and his like.
So Batman, everyone's like Batman doesn't kill. Batman left KGB to die.
Like broke his neck. Now
his back.
He's done something like that. Yeah. I distinctly remember something like that before. But he's like, I don't have to save you, and like left, and it was brutal. And some people hated it. Like I was on a comics Discord that did not like that plot at all. However, I thought it was brutal, and as a soldier, like I like this stuff like that.
Tom King wrote that whole story because they're like going back and forth to this like parable story about this like rabbit and everything. Yeah, and it's just like pulls you in.
Oh, and you think it's just KGB's dad, and at the end it turns out to be Thomas Wayne and Bruce Wayne. Yeah. And so now Thomas Wayne is in play, and we haven't had an answer to that. No, all we know is that he's just beat the hell out of like Alfred and has beat the hell out of
out of. So okay, there's other things that have happened behind the scenes on this plot line. Let's see. Mr. Freeze was getting framed,
Yeah.
and Bruce Wayne was on the jury and
Yeah.
convinced the jury of the truth to not frame or not
So
convict.
we don't believe that Bane had anything to do with that. Like that. Was
I
just
kind of do.
luck
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
draw.
No, he did.
With Bruce Wayne
that
being on
was
the jury.
no. I don't know how that
I
happened.
think that was the wild card.
Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe,
okay.
but he definitely ruined Bane's plot.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then on top of that, although Bane knew that Penguin was going to betray him, Bane had killed Penguin's significant other,
Mhm.
and then that had put him on a collision course with Bruce Wayne. And there was legitimately this was where I got more scared than ever. There was a laser sight.
Oh, God,
On Alfred's
On his
head.
Yep.
And then it ended the book, and I was like, no.
Talk about a cliffhanger,
Oh
man.
God!
And then the way they followed it up, going right into it.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, go ahead and kill yourself, kill the pilot. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Vice versa.
And then didn't Batman go to Arkham Asylum?
yeah.
And because they said that everyone in Arkham Asylum's been paid off, so then Batman starts beating on Bane, trying to get him to admit it, and
Yep.
Bane's being scared, and it's all an act.
Yeah, a great
And then
too.
because of that rage,
Smirk.
he hits Commissioner Gordon, or I don't think he meant to, but he hit
Yep.
Commissioner Gordon, and
Knocked
Commissioner
him down.
Gordon tells him to get out,
Mhm.
and so he's Bane has
Alien.
systematically removed he removed his son Nightwing, at least memories of him. He put him on a collision course with Red Hood.
Yep.
Red
They
Hood,
fought it out.
they fought it out, and it was no contest. Batman completely won and threw him out of Gotham.
Mhm.
So pretty much all of Batman's family's been ripped apart.
Mhm.
But the thing that's happening right now, there was a Two-Face event in Detective Comics that showed that Batman still cared about Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's right. They were squared
right?
up. Yeah, that's
So while I think that Bane is picking apart Batman and breaking his spirit, and we know how this is going to play out eventually, a little bit. We don't know entirely because it's Tom King. However, I think that the wild card here is the crime lords.
Yeah.
I think the crime lords of Gotham are going to eventually band together and help Bruce because of over the years all his mercy that he's given them.
Yeah. Well, and this is something me and Steve talk about on our long drives home at
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
We have legit sat there and okay, who's going to do this and why are they going to do it? And we're sitting there dude, the only thing that can happen, the only way that they can pull this wild card out would be the villains themselves.
Yeah.
And definitely the big one I think is going to have to be Mr. Freeze.
Mr.
Because
Freeze, yeah.
Bruce Wayne jacked that whole thing up.
Yeah, you ruined that trial completely,
Yeah.
which was great. And they Bane knew that Bruce Wayne screwed it up too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so good.
I know.
It's so good. And so this leads us to this is why we love comics the way we do, because this leads to other discussions of if the King follows through and Batman dies, who would take up the cowl?
Mhm.
And we've discussed this, but I think Dick Grayson, currently Rick Grayson is what he's calling himself. He would be a good contender because now there's 4 more Nightwings, so somebody could replace Nightwing.
Mhm.
On top of that, Batman. On top of that, who else? Carl said Damian Wayne, but I don't think I think there's too much of his grandfather in Damian Wayne.
Beacon.
Signal.
There we go.
Signal. Duke Thomas.
Duke Thomas. There we go. Yeah.
And I think Duke Thomas is the long shot, but that's why he's my pick.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, we were talking about that from the get-go.
Yeah, from the
Before
get-go.
that even happened.
So that's a really good plot, to be honest with you. One that's, I don't know if it's a good plot so much as good action, but The Punisher right now. The Punisher has been some of the best action and some of the most brutal writing. The things he says and does are just hysterical. So I can't recommend Punisher enough. Although I'm not sure if it's a plot that Rosenberg's doing. Now, Rosenberg is a plotter for sure,
Mhm.
because I haven't dived into Multiple Man yet, but I've heard that people go conspiracy wild on where Multiple Man is going. And we know from Uncanny X-Men that he's pretty damn good at writing a plot. And he's taken over Star Wars too. Yeah.
They just announced
The space opera.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So The Punisher, I would say, is one of my big, I can't wait to see where this plot is going. And I think he's going to rip down Bagalia next, which should be fun.
Wow.
Yeah. They just did Prison Break, and I'm pretty sure he's going to rip apart the Crime Nation, which should be fun. Next is Web of Venom and Venom. This covers Venom. I just grabbed a Venom book. But the Venom plot has been super deep. We found out that symbiotes have DNA ties to whoever they bond to. So, like, at one point, Flash Thompson was able to reappear, even though Flash Thompson is dead. And on top of that, like, Eddie Brock, his symbiote essentially died, or is pretty much brain dead, since it's lost its voice since the fight with Null, the god of symbiotes, which was a really dope storyline. And so right now, Eddie Brock has kind of detached himself from his symbiote. He lets it live outside of his body, and it takes the form of a dog, but it doesn't really have a voice yet, and he misses it. Because if anyone knows the Eddie Brock character in depth, you know that of all the things he's afraid of, he's not so much afraid of death. He's not so much afraid of, like, being injured. He's not afraid of, like, there's not many villains or heroes that he's truly afraid of. The one thing he's mostly afraid of is just being alone. And so this storyline right now has been both heartbreaking and really deep. Like, they've gone further into, like, his family ties, his father. He's got a new brother character. I can't wait to see where it goes. And a lot of the villains in that story have been really good too. So as far as plot is concerned right now, I'd say Venom is one of the top tier ones. Plus, there's all these offshoot books, and I don't hate them. I usually, when there are a lot of, like, offshoot books, some of them are weak. I think the Infinity Wars event is a perfect example of all that nonsense.
Well, and there's all those other things going on inside of it, like the sister. Like, all of a sudden, there's no mention of the sister. Like, the dad doesn't know anything about that. He didn't know anything about the brother.
Yeah.
Then I don't think so. I'm starting to think that the Venom might actually be coming back because there's signs of intelligence in that.
Well, because the dog.
Yeah.
But I mean, but it doesn't have a voice yet. It's still, like, animalistic, and that's why he keeps separating himself from it. Yeah. So we'll see. I threw this in here. I don't really think the plot is super deep, but I think it's kind of a must read, and that's Young Justice. The plot's not really deep. Like, the Gemworld people are, like, standing around. They're like, the Earth has these events called crises, and every time there's a crisis, it affects everything around us. Gemworld gets messed up because of Earth's crises. There's been 7 of them. So we need to beat up Superman. And that's the beginning of Young Justice. But however, as cheesy as that plot is, and they're being trapped in Gemworld and everything else, it has been one of the most fun reads. Like, it really has that sort of escapism, fun comic storyline thing. And oh man, it says Instagram has stopped close app. I have to close app. That's what it says. I don't know. Should I close it and relaunch it? It says people are watching.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm gonna close it and relaunch it. Oh wait, no. That was yours. I canceled it. I think it's still going. The Facebook one's going. It said Instagram stopped, but that's different.
Oh, yeah.
I got confused. I almost closed the Facebook feed. Sorry. So Young Justice, I think, is a really fun plot line. I don't think it's deep, but it's fun. Next, we're going to talk about how much time do I have? I got like 5 minutes. The current Superman, where Jonathan Kent gets aged and is now a teenager, or 17.
So he's been living on Krypton? What's going on?
No. The end of this is he's pretty much in a parallel dimension, and I can't spoil it, but there is a particular, shall we say, villain group that's in play.
Okay.
And so that's been really cool to see unfolding. And granted, I don't think they should age Jonathan Kent over Damian. I would like them to age together. I don't know why it just feels like a missed opportunity. However, Bendis is going to do what Bendis does, and I like the new look for Jonathan Kent, and I want to know more. I want to know a lot more about what's been going on with him. Yeah. So I'm excited to see it unfold. I'm having a good time with it. I don't hate it.
It's funny you should say that, because so when we opened the store, we started off with Superman #2.
Yeah.
And I jumped in on that, thinking, okay, it's Superman, I'm going to have a good time with it. And I jumped in on it, I got bored.
Yeah, because it felt like filler.
Yeah, and I know Bendis has a good reputation to it.
Yeah.
But then I jumped in on Adventure Sons over there.
Yeah.
Super Sons.
And
I was like, dude, this is fun. I enjoyed reading it. It was a good time. So I might jump on just because Jonathan Kent's coming in there now.
Well, and that's the thing. That's what I've always felt like the difference between titles are. Like Batman, you go to Batman when you want like gritty, dark stories, right? You go to Superman when you want like fun, like, hey, this is a superhero, can't be lighthearted. And granted, Superman can get deep. Everybody knows it can. But for the most part, it's like night and day, and that's why we like night and day. Batman and Superman. Yeah. Okay, so the last book we're going to talk about. Well, I did want to talk about Conan. I don't think Conan. Well, Conan's kind of an interesting plot right now, and I want to know what's going on more. So there's two running right now. In Savage Sword of Conan, at the end of that, he gets possessed and he finds out about a map. He gets possessed by magic or something and finds out about a map. And then Conan the Barbarian, the end of this. Well, not the end because it's all been building, but towards a blood god that he messed up at one point and is trying to come back. And I want to know more about that stuff.
Blade, though, right?
No, it's not a vampire blood god. It's a good old-fashioned gotta sacrifice some people blood god, which is dope. So yeah, that's been going on. I like Conan. I think if you want to read a good fantasy storyline, Conan you really can't go wrong with. I would advise that over Red Sonja. Red Sonja to me feels like they put one good story and then two bad stories together. Conan is not like that right now, and Marvel's at the helms of it, so I'm hoping it's going to go a lot more smoother. They're doing that other pirate that I can't wait to see, that the woman pirate. What's her name? Like Bet or something, or
I'm brain farting.
I can't remember her name, but she's the third book from the Conan universe that's going to unfold. Next, we're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's not a lot of plot in this so far. It involves Thanos. Thanos has been killed by Gamora. Yeah. So Thanos has been killed by Gamora in the events of Infinity War. And now it turns out his death is not the end. Like Thanos has a clone set up that his knowledge is all going to be beamed into. And so
they're Palpatining it, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. They're Palpatine bissing it. And so then what happens is it's not really the Guardians at the time, but it's a whole bunch of the cosmic characters that are all like hanging out at Thanos' funeral, and they're like, why are we here? The Black Order shows up, steals the body. Everybody gets into a huge fight. There's people like, yeah. So what happens is like this, I don't know, is it Nova Corps? Yeah, I think Nova Corps shows up, and they're like, yo, we're gonna take all these people into custody that wound up on Peter Quill's boat or Peter Quill's ship, and like we're gonna take them all into custody. He's like, you can't because you don't have a warrant, and they're like, but they're not, they don't belong on your ship, and he's like, yes, they do. This is my new crew, and that was such a good opening for a Guardians of the Galaxy. And on top of that, like this team. Who do they got on this team? That's dope.
I gotta talk about Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Cosmic Ghost Rider.
They're keeping that going,
right? Because he's a dope character. Yes. But my personal favorite, Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah, Beta
Ray Bill. Moondragon. They've got Groot. There's no Rocket, and in fact, they bring up Rocket because he made a sacrifice in the Infinity War's last Final Guardian. Was it called Last Guardian?
So
that's Lost Guardian. Yeah.
Oh my
god. So Rocket's gone, and they don't talk about Rocket. They even say, we don't talk about Rocket.
That whole series hurt my head. I was thinking that was taking place like outside in a different universe.
No, that was canon.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it sucks, right? We hated that event.
It started off so good.
Who else is on the team? Can you remember anyone else?
I said Silver Surfer.
Oh yeah, Silver Surfer's on there. Yeah. So it's like a top tier list.
Yeah.
And granted, it feels like it's got a very Guardians feel to it, but I like the new team, and it's not the deepest of plots yet. We've only got one book, but I think it's gonna go far.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think it is.
I hope.
So
that reminds me, they just started Old Man Quill too.
Old Man Quill, yeah, and I like how that turned out. Like it's just basically like Quill's like, yo, I'm gonna handle this. It's gonna be fine. I'm Star-Lord, and then it's not fine, and the whole planet is like dead, and he's just like a broken man. That's dope. Like that's writers knowing the character well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we've talked a lot about plot and decent plot. Our favorite stuff on the shelves right now. Do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't know. Let's see. Is there anything going on Instagram with people? They ask some questions.
There's a couple people. Mark said he's digging the show.
No.
I don't think we have too many other people on YouTube. We got 2 people.
Yeah.
Yes, 2 people.
Thank you to the fans.
Thank you to the 2 people. We will do this for you every week, maybe.
Well, I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
We're trying something out with all these cameras everywhere.
Yeah, we got a lot of cameras. I have no idea. Like, I've got an awkward angle on the Instagram. These poor Instagram people, like, they can't even see the books, and they've got like this awkward angle on my head. Facebook is like looking up my nose, and then we've got like a regular angle on the YouTube stuff. So if you go to either one, you get different angles of the scene.
Yeah, this is why. I think we scared off some customers with all this nonsense that we got going on over here, but. You know, we
Yeah.
want to engage you guys. We
But-
really do.
But like we wanted to get across that this is why we talk so deeply about both comics and art. Comics, art, and plot because they're important to us. And yeah, to some people these are just comic books, but to us these are like our modern legends.
Yeah.
And the way people go with these storylines it's different from a lot of other mediums, most other mediums, I would say. And that's why it's been such a big hit with Hollywood, is because comics don't stick to any sort of trope or script usually.
And I think too, what we're looking at with Hollywood is the technology is caught up to the imagination.
Yeah.
So you're looking at stuff like with Guardians of the Galaxy that's actually out. You know, with DC's Wonder Woman. I mean, a lot of the stuff that you see out there, like they didn't have the technology back in the 80s or up to the mid 90s.
Yeah.
To like do like a lot of these big budget movies and everything. They couldn't bring in like these episodic, huge pantheons of like characters.
Yeah.
I mean, now they can.
Yeah, they can.
And these are well thought out, fleshed out stories that are like fan favorites, you know, and like Infinity Gauntlet. I mean, that's like one of the definitive chapters in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
You know?
And what's cool about it is like the general public, I would say a lot of the new fans don't have a concept for how deep these stories go or how deep comics go in general.
Mhm.
And that's why whenever a new movie comes out, we get all these people coming in wanting to buy like just from the movie, and we're like, yo, like there's a billion other storylines here that you would probably like.
And
so
people do pick them up. Though.
Yeah,
They
so-
the trade paperbacks, and
Yeah.
then they get hooked, and they're like,
They
oh
get
my
hooked.
God,
Yeah, yeah.
Miles Morales
But-
is dope. Spider-Gwen is awesome.
but like these storylines
Oh, yeah.
are super deep and intricate, and they don't like, a lot of people don't have a concept for how deeply. I remember I was talking to somebody who was totally new to like comics in general, and they said like, well, what is Hollywood gonna do when they run out of comic storylines to put it? And I was like, do you have
Yeah.
any concept of how deep this ocean runs?
yeah, it's
Like,
ever.
yeah.
Well, and it's not just the Marvel and the DC, because now even Dark Horse is going back to it all.
Right.
So Aliens, Alien 3, for you guys who don't know, just had their original screenplay shot back into comic book form.
Yep.
And it has been stellar. It has brought back a whole bunch of other people, because back in the 90s, they had some killer comics that came out for that. I mean, you had Aliens Earth War, you had the Predator event that was kicking off, which was just bleeding out everywhere, too.
Yeah.
Then you had Terminators and everything. But, I mean, they're coming back to that now, and I think they're starting to get the idea, like, maybe we shouldn't listen to all these Hollywood executives and everything
Yeah.
to do all the producing. Maybe we should actually look at the story format and see how that would actually translate, you know? Because even with Prometheus, I mean, as I kind of liked it. It killed a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, if you were to like say have made one of those earlier comics from like the 90s again, I always chime back to the 90s. Sorry. I mean, people will be hooked
Yeah.
because these stories are great.
Their heads would have exploded.
Yeah.
Well, and I think,
History.
you know what made me hate Aliens was the original Aliens 3. I hated that movie. I thought that was the most garbage movie ever. And to see William Gibson's Aliens 3 is a much better story, right?
Much better.
So, okay, I'm sure the wife wants to give me a ride home now,
That's
so I
right,
got to
you've been-
go.
I can see your little icon.
Yeah,
up there.
yeah,
Oh
I'm-
man.
So I need to go, so I guess we got to close this up. So, yeah, bye, guys. Take care.
Oh, do the dance.
Oh,
I don't
no,
know.
we don't have to do a dance. We just got to end it. Dope.